Today we got rules for reserves and how things can deploy via reserves, and it's not the same that we used to think. They use the example of the unit they give us here. I love how they're sprinkling in real things into the article about other things, but this Trigon that they give the example for has subterranean assault, and it says that during deployment you can choose to put the Trigon underground, and I like that it has that narrative kind of a theme to it, to where you're not putting in reserve, you're not putting in deep strike reserve, you're putting it underground, and then you can nominate a unit to go with it. If it has a troop choice that has the high fleet keyword, then you can have it come in from underground with the Trigon. It says you put it 9 inches away from, or 9 inches or more from an enemy unit, and then they're able to come in with no scatter, 9 inches away, and then you can place the Trigon and then the unit, same thing, 9 inches away. But then it goes on to basically indicate that they can act normally, so they'll be able to charge an assault out of this, whatever this deep strike mechanic is. Now that's a lot different than what we've got right now. It then goes on to tell us in the article, and I'll put the link down below. And please comment. I definitely want to comment and like and let me know what you think about this, because this is going to change how some armies play. Because it then goes on to say that no matter how you get this ability, whether it be through mystical teleportation, summoned from the warp, technology, coming in out of a Thunderhawk, or beamed in from somewhere else, or whatever, you have to start with half of your army physically deployed on the tabletop. This is, as people that, what they call it, the null deploy, this is changing that a whole lot. Now, what I think is realistically going to happen is that armies that maybe, so you got a bunch of Grey Knight Terminators, or you've got maybe some Dark Eldar that are able to come in through the webways on turn 1 or whatever. Whereas before, you could hold everything off, and maybe you burn a turn for the enemy. They're not able to do anything because they're going first, and there's no way for them to interact with you because you have no figures on the table. You're going to have to put some stuff down, even if it had the ability to deep strike or teleport or beam or whatever, tunnel up from the ground that it had before. Now, where I think this is giving them the ability to kind of mess with it. So now things like drop pods, and I'm just using them as an example because drop pods right now in the game have a modified rule for reserves. They have something in the current paradigm that we have in 7th edition that allows them to come in from reserves differently than what the rule book says. So I think it's fair for us to assume that drop pods will be able to come in from reserves differently than what this rule says. Now, we don't know how you determine what comes in when it comes in, but it goes on to say that if you're not in by a certain turn, then those units are considered destroyed. Again, that gives them a slider. Maybe we'll see units in the future that can come in on turn 4 or turn 5, or automatically come in turn 5 or something like that. Or it has this 9-inch exclusion. I think we may see things that are able to come in closer. Or you'll be able to really make a tactical decision of I'm gonna be able to come in from reserve, and I'm gonna take this unit that can move faster because I want to be able to get a more reliable charge when I land. I think that's very important here, that this goes on to indicate strongly that you can act normally. There's nothing there's not going to be things, the same list of things that you can't do that get applied to this. That is powerful. Things in it, calls out orc commandos and terminators and stuff that are all going to be able to get their ability to get this kind of modified deployment. And it didn't cover this a lot in the article, but in the comments, people on the Facebook page, on the Warhammer 40K Facebook page, people kept asking, "What about my Genestealer cult? What about this? I've been doing this," and they strongly implied that the cult ambush is going to have modifications on this. It's, you're basically going to be ambushing people, all day, all the time. Don't worry that the preservation of the mechanic is going to be there. And that's something I think that we can take away from this, is that they're doing what they can, or at least making a real solid effort to have all this theme even in our match play settings. And this channel and the things that we talk about on the podcast with the rest of the crew are strongly going to be focused on match play. Not that we aren't narrative gamers and don't subscribe to all the background and read all the novels, but how things apply to match play is huge for us. And I think that we'll find things that have different levels of efficiency as we move forward with these units that we'll be able to, I don't want to say cheat this rule, but there'll be modifiers on this rule. And I think it's going to be neat to see the fact that, you know, they indicate you don't come in by a certain turn, that you're going to be destroyed. Are they going to put things in the game that will force you to delay, even force your opponent to delay when they bring in their reserves, like we had with the IG with some of the command squads that give you -1 to reserves, and warlord traits give you -1 to reserves? Would that be even good for the game? I think that's a good question that we can talk about here as we're full on speculation. So anyway, I like this. I like the fact that it's going to change how null deploy armies work, in the fact that I think that there'll be still things that do get to preserve that, but they will be more rare, and I think there'll be some trade-offs. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think. Let me know if you're excited about the addition still. As the more we know, I am. Can't wait to hear your thoughts.